If you found your way to this video, you are here for a reason. I bet you've asked yourself before, what is my purpose? Why am I here? It might have felt like a yearning, a whisper, a deep pull, but it is because you are here for a reason and you have a role to play in these times. I truly believe that every single one of us has a role to play, that we are all here on this planet at this moment in time for a reason. But purpose has really been confounded by our society. We live within this societal structure that has us believing that the way that we can experience purpose is through our career, what we do with our lives, our job. And if it doesn't make us money, then it isn't supposed to be. The late, great Joanna Macy called this time the Great Transition. Spiritual people call it 5D ascension. I might use the term moving into a new earth. What I believe is happening is that humanity's consciousness is evolving. And that is a damn good thing. It needs to evolve, right? The world is not working for basically any of us besides the ruling class. I believe that purpose is the pathway for each of us to be a part of the Great Transition. I know the society that we live under has confused us about what purpose even is. How do we express it? How do we find it? We live under a capitalist structure, and we have come to believe that our purpose equals our career. And so if the thing that we love to do can't make us money, then it's selfish, or it's frivolous, or it needs to be put down. And on the other side of that, there's the idea that if our purpose doesn't directly impact the world's problems, then maybe it's not good enough and it's not actually a contribution. We've been told that we live in a material reality. And that's one part of the story. That's one part of the story, is that we do live on a planet that's governed by physics. I'm not a scientist. But basically, yes, if you want to move a ball, you got to push that ball. But that's not the whole story. We are now starting to have science catch up to spiritual teachings that have been around for millennia. Everything is energy. Things are connected. Particles are connected at very far distances. We can create ripples of change just by changing our own frequency, our own energy. So when that comes to purpose, we need to start to redefine what purpose is. Some people's purpose will directly pay their bills, and that's fucking awesome. Great, go for it. But for many people, it's not a direct correlation. Not right now, maybe. As things continue to change, I believe that we can all just be paid for existing in different ways. But we are not at that moment. We are still living in the collapse of the old society while we turn towards and birth the new. And finding your purpose, living your purpose, is your contribution to that birthing of the new. So when I was writing about the energy and frequency just a little bit ago, I was sitting in my backyard. And I want to give some examples of this because this was really a potent example that just happened. The way that you can create ripples in energy and frequency is if you stop and have a sweet little conversation with the grocery checkout person, or you give somebody a compliment, or you pay it forward by buying somebody's coffee. These are all really nice gestures that express love. And you don't know that grocery checkout person or the person you bought coffee for, you don't know what happens with the rest of their day. But we've seen that one positive event can create more positive events, right? You buy somebody's coffee, a stranger's coffee, they're probably going to give money to the unhoused person down the street or something of that nature. But you're not going to see that effect. That's not the purpose. You're not here to see that effect, but it does happen. When I was outside, I was in my backyard, I was sitting on a chair in the grass, and I was writing about energy and frequency. And this beautiful little butterfly lands in the grass, probably about 3 or 4 feet from me. And I just had this thought of, let me move my hand. And so at that point, it was probably about 5 or 6 feet away from the butterfly. I just moved my hand through the air like this, and immediately upon that change of energy and frequency, the butterfly moved and flew away. That's the ripple that I'm talking about. That's the energy that we cannot yet see. And so you coming to a place of your most authentic expression of yourself, of your soul, creates those kind of energy changes, those ripples. You get to be in a frequency of fulfillment, of creativity, of passion, of joy, of happiness. It's not going to be all of the time, but a lot of the time you'll be in that space. And you will be your most authentic expression of self in whatever way that looks like for you. If your purpose is the thing that you came here to do, it can be anything. And it doesn't have to be your career. So that starts to expand the possibility. And there are a few ways to start to consider what it might possibly be. I would advise you do a journaling exercise. You can make multiple lists if that works for you, or you can kind of just write it out. But there's a couple of questions to ask yourself. What do I love to do so much that I would do it for free? What did I love to do as a child that I wish I could still be doing? What things do I love about my job currently? What ideas do I have about how the world could be different? What am I naturally gifted at? And this is a question that you could even ask friends and family, because sometimes it's hard for us to see what we're naturally gifted at. Ask your friends and family, what do they see in you that you're naturally gifted at? So I would start by journaling about those things, writing the lists. See if there's any common themes. To give you some examples, maybe you are meant to be somebody who is directly impacting the world's current problems. And that's fantastic. Awesome, do that. But it's not any less fantastic if your purpose is making macrame art, if it's growing a garden, if it's being a fantastic parent. Like, all of those things are important. The other thing to really consider here is we are looking at an entire system-wide change. There is no part of the civilization in which we live in that will go untouched. The foundation of this entire thing that we understand as our world is faulty and needs to be rebuilt. So I think about a school teacher. Maybe you're a school teacher and you are watching this and you're like, I hate my job. I don't like it. It's so draining. I like being with the kids maybe, but the whole system is just not okay. I get that completely. But maybe you also have a lot of ideas for how it could be better. But you're within the system and it's really hard to affect any change. People don't listen to you. Your ideas don't get heard. Things like that. If you have those ideas, that could be part of what you are here to do, to actually change the educational system. And what could that look like? Can you open up your mind to possibility outside of the system as we know it? Our imaginations have been colonized by this system. We struggle to even imagine what could be possible. But we really need to work our imagination muscle, because we need to imagine something better so that we can actually create something better. Every single one of us and our individual genius is absolutely necessary, because everything needs to change. There is no part that doesn't need to change, literally. The way houses are built, the way food is grown, the way children are raised, the way therapy is done, all of it, the way our government is run, the way our media is done, every single part needs to change. If you start to use your imagination of what's possible, that might get your gears going. But it could be much smaller than that. And when I say smaller, I want to be really clear that smaller does not mean less. There is no less when it comes to ripples. Sure, some people might have a greater impact that is more visible to the human eye. Like, we cannot judge, right? That's our ego mind trying to judge, oh, well, I'm not having this great impact, so that means it's not as important. No. Somebody creating a neighborhood readiness group or a neighborhood Skillshare, while that impact is more confined than, say, somebody that's trying to change government, that is just as powerful and just as necessary. But so is somebody raising children that are learning differently. That's only happening within a house. But those children, who knows what effect that's going to have and what those children are going to grow up and do. And maybe they're just loving creatures living their lives. That's so necessary. There is no small, big, or judgment here. If we take the pressure off purpose to be the thing that brings us money, how does that expand our view of what's possible? I think the other hard part that I want to acknowledge is, if it's not the thing that we do for money, where do we find the time to do it? And that's part of the work. We have to start to tend to ourselves in ways to create the space to do the things that bring us fulfillment, bring us passion, bring us creativity. This is not an easy task in a world that wants us turned off, sucked in, and on the algorithm. That is challenging work, but it is deeply necessary for your emotional and mental health and for your energetic frequency. And if you want to talk more about this and have me go deeper, let me know in the comments. And I'd love to know what some of your challenges are on believing that you could live your purpose or finding your purpose. I'll share a little bit about my story, probably for as long as I can remember, which I would say is sometime in high school, maybe, when you're really starting to understand who you are and why you're here. I've had this deep, deep calling, this just knowing that I was here for a reason. And it honestly basically haunted me. And through most of my 20s, I was dealing with my own shit. I was abusing substances. I was trying to figure out who the hell I was. I was dealing with trauma. I was dealing with so much climate grief and fear about the future and what was going to happen. But I still kind of had that whisper. I had blocked it out with the substances. I was just being a party girl and trying to live that life and dealing with the repercussions of that. But it was still there. I had traveled the world trying to find myself, find that purpose, and I came back home just totally lost. That was when I really started to find myself. I went much deeper on my spiritual journey, and that was when the whisper, the calling, got much louder. And I was like, oh, what is my purpose? Why am I here? And the crazy thing is that I actually, at 18 years old, first semester of freshman year of college, decided I was going to be a therapist. And in many ways, that is my purpose. It's one portion of my purpose. But I couldn't see it. I had in ways already been living it, and I couldn't even see it because it wasn't fulfilling in the ways that I need to be. My ego was blocking a lot of the options for me. And it was a real struggle. I would cry myself to sleep at night being like, what is my purpose? What is my purpose? I could not see it. And it took a lot of events. I had to leave my career and be forced out of my career to actually start to see, oh, wait, this is what I'm meant to be doing. I'm here to be a spiritual therapist. I'm here to be a spiritual teacher. And that journey has been difficult AF. I want to be clear that once you start to follow your purpose, it doesn't just all of a sudden get easy. I think for a lot of people it can, but sometimes if your purpose is trying to build a business around yourself or your gifts, that'll be a spiritual journey in and of itself. The depths at which trying to build a business around my gifts has taken me to, wow. If I had known at the beginning, I mean, I would still be here, but it has been rough. And also, it is so necessary. What else would I be doing if I wasn't doing this thing? It's scary, it's hard, and still I want to be here. And that's what I want for you. I believe that everybody needs to be their most authentic expression of self. And that could look like having a 9-to-5 and being a happy-go-lucky person that hangs out with their friends and raises a family, but is deeply fulfilled by their life. Or it can look like trying to find a way to exit the matrix and do things completely differently. That is also a way. And it's anywhere in between. So if you're interested in figuring out your purpose, if you have an inkling of what your purpose is, if you want to deepen that connection, I offer one-to-one services where we do a deep dive for 3 months to get really clear on all the things that are blocking you and how you can start to live in that energy and that frequency in the day-to-day. If you want to know more about that, the link's below. If you want to go deeper on rewiring your ego and exiting the matrix, there's a free guide, and that link is below. Thank you so much for being here. I hope this message struck you. I hope it has you thinking. I will list the journal prompts in the description so that you can get started on that. And if you have any questions or want to know more, leave a comment. And don't forget to subscribe.